Okay, so when we can't see it, then forget about the slideshows. Anyway, the topics today I would like to discuss today is, of course, the background and introduction. And the second topic I'm going to go is the foreign fighters, ISIS-K, Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, Lashkar-e-Taiba, the current scenario in PAC Afghanistan region, then involvement or an evolving regional situation, and then likely future course, and then counterterrorism measures. So, it doesn't work. Oh, okay. Oh, so it's okay, yeah. So, about the background, I'm an Afghan. I was born in the east of Afghanistan, but I was grown up in the United States and studied there and worked with a lot of the American agencies, especially the intelligence agencies and also the military one. And since 25 years, I'm concentrating on terrorism and counterterrorism. I got also my diploma in counterterrorism, terrorism theory and practice, and also in global or new world order. And then, so the issue is that today I'm going to discuss it. Yeah. So the first thing is the foreign fighters. The number one is I have chosen as the ISIS-K, or we call it a Caliphate, Islamic Caliphate. It is a branch of the ISIS-K in Afghanistan. It is said ISIS Khorasan. So in the past centuries, there was a country named Khorasan, where Central Asia, part of India, was under control of that. That was one country. So therefore, they call it the Khorasan, and the ISIS-K want to have the control of the whole Central and South countries. So therefore, they call it the ISIS-K or ISIS Khorasan. By the advent of Taliban, and everybody knows that Taliban took power, and there was a significant effort by the American special forces and Afghan forces. They were able to capture and kill. That was one of the U.S. strategy, to capture and kill the terrorists or the insurgents. They were able to capture a lot of these activists for ISIS-K, so around 3,000 of them. When the Taliban took power, one of their mistakes that today they understand it and they confess that that was a huge mistake of them. They broke everywhere the prison, and so the prisoner got out, and today we see organized criminality. This organized criminality, and then also the terrorism, and most of the terrorists who were jailed by the United States of America or the Afghan forces, they are now free and moving back to their strongholds or to the safe haven, and they are regrouping, and they are launching attacks as the American security analysts, they said that within 6 months, the Al-Qaeda, and meantime, the Khorasan or the ISIS will be in a position to launch attacks on the United States and its allies in the region. So when they got freed, So there was a guy, Aslam. So Aslam was the leader. He was within them. And now they are in a position, you see that every day, almost every day in Afghanistan, not only in Afghanistan, but also in the region, they're launching severe and deadly and lethal attack that everybody see that. So what happens. And this is the result of the misunderstanding or the misjudgment of the United States. I have to confess, however, I'm closely in contact and working with a lot of the American intelligence organizations, but that was a mistake of them, that they gave the power or they give the opportunity to the terrorist organization like Taliban, who are ideologically in connection with Al-Qaeda and also with the Khorasan or the ISIS-K. Anyway, they are out and they are started to run a war. So when the problem is, when ISIS-K is there, this is like a proxy. It's possibly, I cannot blame the United States for, but there are some assumptions that some of the Western countries, probably the US and some other countries, they are supporting the proxy war for 40 years. The new type of the terrorism, the jihadi terrorism, we say it in Afghanistan the first time it took place when the Soviet Union trespassed or invaded Afghanistan. That was the United States, that was CIA, that was DIA, that was NSA, that was MI6, who supported these terrorists. They call it the freedom fighters. These terrorists today are the freedom fighters of yesterday. That is the strategy of the United States, the failed strategy, which they made it, and today they are facing that. Because this is bounced back to them. The jihadi terrorism is a new type of the terrorism. We have in the history different types of the terrorism, from the assassins, from the Red Brigades, the leftists, then the rightists, and now a new type of the terrorism is the jihadi terrorism. So when we have, for example, the ISIS-K in the interest of the United States or in the interest of Saudi Arabia and some of the Gulf countries, because ISIS-K is, it's called Wahhabis. So in opposition, there is Iran and Iraq and some other countries who are under the camp of Shia Islam. So they have their own proxies. That is the Hezbollah. So when we have, for example, the ISIS-K, then we have the Hezbollah to fight them back, because Iran has its own interest in Afghanistan and Saudi has its own interest in Afghanistan. And they don't want to confront, or they don't want to be in full-scale war, because it would be deadliest for both of them, because both of them, the strategical and technical weaponry, which could be disastrous for the whole region. Therefore, they use Afghanistan for their interest to fight against one another and use these proxies in the name of Caliphate and Hezbollah. The next topic I would like to talk is about Al-Qaeda. So we know that the 9/11 happened and Al-Qaeda was just popped up. And before, nobody knew it, because Osama bin Laden, one of the person who was sponsored by CIA for years to fight the Russians and the Soviet Union. But you know that when there is a contradiction of the interest happen, the CIA the Al-Qaeda bounced back to the United States, and 9/11 happened. And then the US started a just war, the so-called just war. They sent troops to Afghanistan to capture and kill strategy. And we see that to some extent, they were able to destroy Al-Qaeda, but Al-Qaeda was hiding. Its hideout was in Pakistan. In 2011, he was smoked out in Pakistan. Nothing happened against Pakistan, but still Afghans are facing and Afghans are killing for sponsoring or having a safe haven, giving a safe haven for the terrorists. So I'm talking about the new generation, because in 2017, Osama bin Laden was hunted by the American Special Forces. And beside him was a person, Abu Ahmad al-Kuwaiti, who was assistant and a fellow or friend of Osama bin Laden. He was also killed in that moment. But his son is Ubaidur Rahman. And that time, I think, if the information correct, he was 11 years old. And now it is 2021, so he is young enough. He's back to business. The new generation of Al-Qaeda is back in Afghanistan. And I know the hideouts where it is. I shared the information with the CIA, but nobody cared about it. So they are there, and even they are invited by the Afghan government, because the Taliban, most of the Taliban, they are supported and they are in close connects with these Al-Qaeda. And even today, the Americans say they are not bound to the contract, or not bound to the agreement which was done between the Americans and Taliban and Qatar. And they say they still have their connections, because one of the part or of this agreement was just to cut off the relation with the Al-Qaeda. But still there is. Now the Americans, they confess that they're still moving on. So the Al-Qaeda is there, and then we have the Khorasan. And then the East Turkestan Islamic movement, this Chinese Uyghurs, these Chinese Muslims, we have them. Of course, they are using Afghanistan as a safe haven, and they are openly operating. And as I said before, there is ideological relations or ideological bound to one another. Therefore, the Taliban do not care when they operate. So the problem is now, when the East Turkestan Islamic movement is going on in Afghanistan, their activities, then the Chinese government, which is against that, and the Chinese have their own economic initiative. It's called Belt and Road Initiative, which is jointly done by China and Pakistan. It is called Pak-China Economic Corridor, which will use Afghanistan as a land bridge between Central Asia and South Asia, and finally it will be a Euro-Asian project which will connect Asia with Europe. So when this happens, of course, it is according to the Americans, they call the Chinese grand strategy is to overlap or to overcross the United States. Of course, the United States will start in one way or the other to block the situation and do not allow the Chinese to be the number one power in the world. It is emerging power. Of course, it is emerging power, but they want to keep it not to be the mainstream power in the international affairs. So there is still information coming to my organizations that East Turkestan Islamic movement is supported by the CIA to counter the interest of Chinese in Afghanistan. So when they're there, then there is MSS, the Chinese intelligence. They're widely operating in Afghanistan to hand down these terrorist organizations or the terrorists who are actively working in Afghanistan. So the next is the Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is a Pakistani, which is used against the India. So as long as there is the conflict between India and Pakistan over Kashmir, and Pakistan is not in a position to confront, for example, a nuclear power like India and a huge economy and a huge civilization or whatever. So they only want to use it to counter India with these terrorists. This is called Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is widely operating in Afghanistan. And then I would like to talk about Hamas, is also operating in Afghanistan. You know that the Indians are cooperating with the Israelis, and then we have Iran, which is against the Israelis in the Middle East and Palestine. So these Hamas today are coming to Afghanistan. They have their training center supported by the Afghan Taliban and equipped by the Afghan Taliban and financed by Iranians. And then they get their training and sent to Palestine, and sooner or later they will fight against Mossad or Shin Bet or whatever, or these intelligence organizations, or IDF itself. And then I would like to talk about the Harakat al-Ansar al-Uzbekistan, which is an Islamic movement trying to fight back the Central Asian countries. On the top of that is Uzbekistan. So when this organization is openly working in Afghanistan, actively working in Afghanistan, then of course the FSB and also GRU, which is the Russian military intelligence, are operating and using this as a pretext because they are exporting terrorism from Afghanistan to Central Asian countries. And you know that there are a lot of military maneuvers taking place around Afghanistan that not to let these terrorists to go to to Central Asian countries. So these are the terrorists. So there are a lot of them. I cannot tell you because the list is so long. It is about 20 of these terrorist organizations are openly operating in Afghanistan and from Afghanistan to the rest of the world. And the most significant thing is this: today's terrorism is more lethal, is more deadlier because they have the American military cutting-edge technology. They have tanks, they have drones, they have everything. If we don't want to tackle the situation, what is going on in Afghanistan, you will see that not only this happened in Afghanistan, it will not be bound to Afghanistan, it will spread to the rest of the world. And these terrorists today is also involved in organized criminality. They sell drugs because they have to finance their organizations. And meantime, they sell also weaponry. And pretty soon, there would be an American, even a German Walter pistols who were given to the Afghan army or to the Afghan police. Now it is in the hand of Taliban and is openly sold in Afghanistan. And pretty soon, there would be people from Afghanistan or the German weaponry will be brought to Europe, even to Germany, and with a German weapon which is given to Afghan army, and they will kill some Germans here around. This is for sure. I said it is not, I'm not making a statement, a political statement. This is the information. So there are sleeping cells, And meantime, the terrorists, they have the capacity of the CPU, cyber propaganda units. This is the difference. In
Mr.
the past,
Mr. Ajmal, we have time constraints, so please, can you round up, and people can check online for more details about your work and what you do because of the time constraint of the situation. Can you round up, please, sir?
Okay, so I have to
round up your talk quickly.
Okay. Then I will quickly go to this. So the current scenario in Pakistan, in Afghan region. So of course there is Baloch insurgency or insurgents in Pakistan. Then there is the Tehrik-e-Taliban activities in Pakistan is taking place. Then of course the ISI, the patronizing, the smuggling activities are on the rise. And then the division between the Taliban themselves, there is a Haqqani network and there is a Quetta Shura, which is also very problematic. So, and the next thing is the evolving regional situation. So the Pakistan state is heading towards losing its power, or power of the government in the region inside Afghanistan, in Pakistan. Then the Taliban, or the Taliban Pakistan and Taliban Iran smuggling routes are in their control, are getting more significant. And the emergency of this CPU, I said, is more significant. And then I would like to talk about the understanding of Herat, why this Herat game, why Herat is very important for Taliban. Nowadays, the Taliban are in Herat, actively participating in a lot of issues and things like that. So the Taliban, the important junction between Afghanistan, Iran, and Turkmenistan. So this is the area where Iran, Turkmenistan, and Afghanistan is connected to one another. And of course, there is a gas pipeline. It is called TAPE. There's Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. That is going on there. Therefore, it is important. And then the Taliban want to use this TAPE pipeline project to earn more money to support more terrorism, to be honest. And there are some more pictures of them.
We have less than 10 minutes left. We have less.
Oh, no, 10 minutes.
Yeah,
left.
we have less than 10 minutes.
Less than. Oh, I will try to.
Please.
Okay, so the message the Taliban are giving to the people is the Taliban total control of the local governance. This is the one thing they want to give this message. The second message the Taliban are giving to the people is the Taliban are committed to Islamic Sharia, or the Islamic law. And the other message they send out to the Taliban is against the narco trafficking or narco business. And the Taliban also are trying to win over the local business community, and is also trying to give message to India that their interest in Afghan region is safe. So the likely future course of development, so India, this of course, increase the armed attacks in Jammu and Kashmir, then enhance the Islamic and the right-wing radicalization leader, larger recruitment drives by terror groups, then increase the use of the Indian land as a sanctuary by Al-Qaeda and Caliphate and so on. And then the matter of the Sri Lanka, the regrouping of the Islamic groups and radicalization. And then the Bangladesh, of course, the enhancement of the radicalization campaign by the Sunni Wahhabi groups, and the long duration street jamming and blockade by the opposition group and Islamic fundamentalists. So, and then of course there's a lone wolf or small team attacks, and everywhere would be possible. And then the Maldives and Maldivian, the youth are likely to provoke online to join international jihadi outfits. And then, of course, in Nepal, so Al-Qaeda's recruitment is likely to be attempted among the Muslim populations in Terai region of Nepal. And then Myanmar, so Al-Qaeda affiliated in Pakistan-based SRO is likely to attempt a low-intensive attack on Indian Chinese assets in Myanmar. Then, of course, Thailand. So the East Turkmenistan sympathizers are trying to be involved in the terrorist attacks there as well. And then Philippines, of course, the Taliban Al-Qaeda models will be transformed to the Philippine nations and the Islamists who are living there. So the last thing is that we have said a lot about the terrorism. So I'm going to tell you about the counterterrorism measure as well, as a terrorist expert.
We don't have, I've been signaled that I have to, because of the space.
Just so briefly, I will say that the counterterrorism, so supervising intelligence and counterintelligence effort, this is the one thing. The second is decapitation and imprisonment as the second measure to counter them. Then de-radicalization. These are the topics. Each needs at least half an hour to be explained.
We can get to you online.
And then
we can watch your videos online.
Yeah. Then profiling. The terrorists should be profiling, which is sometimes negative. And then the most important thing is that what I'm calling is today is the fear management. One of the counterterrorism measure is the fear management. So the terrorism is all about fear, to spread fear. Terrorism or jihadi terrorism is a tactic. It has nothing at all with Islam. It is only a tactic which is who have political motives. For their political motives, they use terrorism or jihadi terrorism. They only use this tactic to spread fear. So for us, for the society, we have to counter. We don't have to be under control of the terrorists. So we have to say them no. And the last is the resilience. So you see that the rubber, if you pull it, it goes to this side. If you lose it again, it's coming back to its former position. So the society should be resilient. And if something happens, a terrorist attack happens, it possibly, because my information shows that something to 9/11 will happen somewhere in Europe. And therefore, we have to be careful that we have to get really back to our normal business. This is what I could say to you. So thank you very much. And I'm open for question. If there is a question, a possibility of that, I'm here.
Thank you so much.